I don't know if you can tell by the way I look right now, but I am tired and honestly, I'm fed up. I go to college every day or university, whatever you call it, and, like today for example, we're talking about Bayes' theorem and probability theory and significance testing and all that, and then the professor just says, well, this actually doesn't give us any guidance on rejecting or accepting the real hypothesis. And it's like, well, induction's not real. Thanks, David Hume. You constantly haunt me. But on top of this, I also work 2 jobs, and I'm not trying to complain. I enjoy being busy and whatnot, but I'm tired and I'm fed up. And so I'd like to expose some sugary secrets through a bit of a retrospective video, I guess you could call it. So one of those 2 jobs is cleaning houses part-time, helping with a small business, and one of our clientele, or quite a few of our clientele, and it's no disrespect to them, they're lower class individuals. The homes are very small and they don't have access to the nicest of things. A few weeks ago, I'm cleaning one of these houses and I'm cleaning the kitchen, dusting off countertops and whatnot, and I'm moving some of their morsels to the side, and one of them is a package of sandwich buns. Now this sandwich bun is labeled, the packaging, with no high fructose corn syrup added. And then, I'm just sat there thinking, why in the world does high fructose corn syrup need to be put into bread in the first place? If you look at sourdough bread and making it from scratch, for example, there's clearly no need for artificial sweetener in said bread. High fructose corn syrup is also involved in things that don't really make much sense, like Ritz and Club crackers. Crackers are supposed to be buttery and salty. Why do we need artificial sweeteners? At the end of the day, I think it's sad the way that food marketing and food composition is done on widespread scales. Like, why do we have to market fries as hand-cut fries to give off some sort of artisanal sentiment about French fries? It's just weird to me, and this takes place in many other things. I'm just blanking because of Bayes' theorem. Further though, what I think it boils down to more so is that high fructose corn syrup is sort of this socio-economic and political juncture collapsing in on itself, revealing everything wrong with life in totality. Look, I'm not a nutritionist, but I don't think it takes one to claim that consuming high fructose corn syrup regularly is not a good thing. Consuming sugar in general on a regular basis is really not a good thing at all. But here is a medical and doctoral article person explaining that high fructose corn syrup is indeed not a good thing. High fructose corn syrup also contributes to diabetes, inflammation, high triglycerides, and something we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Additionally, from the same article, we see that it affects 90 million Americans. This is close to 1/3 of the entire country. And while high fructose corn syrup doesn't necessarily differ from other sugars, again, I'm entering territory of non-expertise, but this is what the internet tells me. While it doesn't necessarily differentiate between being drastically worse than other sugars, it's still very bad. And because of this, the problem becomes a political, economic, and social one. I'm not the first person who will acknowledge that government subsidies of corn massively help the high fructose corn syrup industry, nor am I going to be the first person to point out that Big Corn's push to redefine high fructose corn syrup as corn sugar is a thing. And the spineless FDA even shot that one down, by the way. But I hope to shed light on a story that transcends nutrition. Meet Dwayne Andreas, or the Soybean King. The Soybean King. The Soybean King. We're all gonna meet the Soybean King. Under his reign, he turned Archer Daniels Midland into an agricultural powerhouse, absolutely, dominating the rest of the corn industry and becoming not just the Soybean King, but the Corn Kings. Not only this, but Andreas was very well known on Capitol Hill. In fact, he was even said to be feared by some, through things like circumventing rules pertaining to the limits on campaign donations. He's known to donated almost $2 million in the 1992 election cycle alone through things like donating in other people's names, like his wife. So it makes perfect sense that in 1981, Ronald Reagan, enacted something that would essentially double the price of domestic sugar. In turn, high fructose corn syrup became the go-to sweetener in most, morsels. Why am I calling food morsels? Indeed, it would stay that way for a while, high fructose corn syrup being, the by far cheapest option in manufacturing foods that have sugar, all down to the fact of one egotistical profiteer's inhibitions. There's a lot more to be said about Dwayne Andreas, but I'm trying to keep things concise. And this is in the context of 1981 up until semi-recently. Americans would be consuming more artificial sugars than ever, and it really still is a major issue. Although it's declined, it's still quite bad. Sugar just ain't good for you, and it's found its way into so many foods that it does not need to be in, not to mention the addictive factor. Combined with coffee or caffeine, oh boy, I mean, look at Starbucks as a whole, look at Dunkin' Donuts as a whole, look at milkshakes as a whole. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. And so here, it becomes very clear just how badly government is in bed with, careless capitalists. Love the system or not, this is the undeniable truth. Not only does it limit citizens' ability to act in the governmental orchestra, undermining citizens' importance in the whole thing, but it limits people's abilities to have healthy lives. For example, not even close to everyone can afford to do their grocery shopping at Whole Foods. To me, it's completely symbolic that when I go to the grocery store, I can look and I can point and I can say, oh, there's politics, oh, there's greed, oh, there's corruption. Buying locally can help to alleviate this, but not all the way. Some are too expensive, that's another point, probably buy the more expensive local things, but regardless, it doesn't alleviate this all the way. It doesn't get rid of the lobbying and corner cutting to profit. We may just need to get our anarchist pants on, if you know what I mean. Peace and love.